I looked at 24 budget headphones under $100, comparing specs, reviews, and real-world performance to find the ones that are actually worth buying. I'm Tom from The Honest Gadget, and these are the best budget headphones you can get right now. Because cheap headphones are a lot better than most people realize. You can now get real ANC, excellent battery life, and sometimes even surprisingly good sound. But there's still plenty of junk out there. So this list is about cutting through the marketing and showing you the options that actually make sense depending on what you're looking for. Let's get started. We're starting with the safest pick on the whole list, the Anker Soundcore Life Q30. If you asked me to recommend just one budget headphone to the average person without overthinking it too much, this would still be the one. It usually sits comfortably below the top of the budget cap, and for the money, it just feels like one of the most complete options here. You're getting proper ANC, multi-point, app EQ, a headphone jack, strong battery life, and a design that feels built around everyday use. And that's really why this gets best overall. It's not because it's the flashiest, it's because it covers the important stuff really well. Sound-wise, this is not a neutral headphone. It leans more consumer-friendly, with punchier bass and a brighter presentation thanks to its 40mm drivers with flexible silk diaphragms. So it works well for general day-to-day listening. And if that default tuning isn't quite your thing, the app gives you enough control to shape it. Now the downsides. The build is still mostly plastic. The ANC can affect the sound a little, and this is not the most premium feeling headphone. But that's kind of the point. It puts the money into the stuff that actually matters, and because of that, the Q30 still feels like the best all-rounder in the budget class. If the Q30 feels a little pricier than you want to go, the Soundcore Life Q20 is where I'd start looking next. This is the save some money without completely downgrading your experience option. You still get real ANC, good battery life, a headphone jack, and that same general Soundcore value formula. And that's really why it works. It doesn't feel like a gimmick budget product. It feels like a simplified version of something better. Now, I do think the Q30 is worth the step up if you can afford it, but if you're trying to stay more in that lower budget zone, the Q20 is still one of the most sensible buys out there. For a ton of buyers, especially students and commuters, this is the value sweet spot. Next up is the one more SonoFlow Pro. And this is the one I'd point to if sound quality is your main priority, but you still want modern features. Now, I know sound is always a bit subjective, but from a more objective standpoint, the SonoFlow Pro has one of the best tuned sound profiles on this list. It sounds closer to how the music is actually supposed to sound, rather than artificially boosting parts of the frequency range just to seem more exciting. It has a warm V-shaped sound with deep but controlled bass, a smooth top end, and overall it comes across as more natural and less boomy than more fun sounding but less refined models like the Q30. You also get LDAC support and a carry case too for easy traveling. Another huge standout here is battery life. This thing is rated for up to 100 hours total, or around 65 hours with ANC turned on. Those are seriously impressive numbers, and it puts the SonoFlow Pro among the strongest battery performers you'll find for under $100. Now, the trade-offs are still there. The design is a little generic, the buttons are reliable but awkwardly placed, and the clamping force might feel a bit too strong for some people. But if your priority is getting a more refined sound without giving up the convenience of ANC, wireless connectivity, and excellent battery life, then this is one of the easiest picks to make. I also think the one more SonoFlow SE is worth mentioning because it's basically a slightly stripped down version of the SonoFlow Pro that still delivers excellent value. At this price, you're getting surprisingly similar specs and a lot of the same real-world appeal. It still keeps many of the features that actually matter, including LDAC, Bluetooth 5.4, and up to 90 hours of battery life, which is a seriously impressive package for the money. Of course, the trade-offs are there. The sound isn't quite as polished, you don't get an analog cable for traditional wired listening, and the all-plastic build doesn't feel quite as confidence-inspiring as the Pro. But if that's the limit of your budget, the SonoFlow SE is still a very easy headphone to recommend. Next up is the CMF Headphone Pro, and this is probably the most interesting budget headphone on the list. What I like about it is that it doesn't feel like a cheap headphone with a few extra features slapped on. It feels like somebody actually tried to make a budget product that's fun, distinctive, and enjoyable to use. You're getting Bluetooth, multi-point, LDAC, a 3.5mm jack, and up to 100 hours of battery life with ANC off. But what really makes it stand out is everything around that. The swappable ear cushions, the physical roller, the energy slider, and the unique design all make it feel more special than most budget headphones. The sound is great too, though it definitely leans more fun than purist. And sure, it's not perfect. It doesn't fold, so it's not ideal for travel, and the call quality is only average. But if you want a budget headphone that feels fresh, looks cool, and delivers way more personality than you'd expect at this price, the CMF Headphone Pro is a seriously strong pick. Not everyone needs noise canceling, and if you're one of those people, the Sony WH-CH520 is one of the cleanest cheap headphone recommendations I can make. This is the pair you buy when you want something light, simple, and from a brand people already trust. There's no ANC, no wired passive mode, and it's an on-ear design, so comfort will depend a bit more on your head shape, plus you're getting significant sound leakage at high volumes. But in return, you get a headphone that's very lightweight at just 147 grams, easy to carry around, and is better built than the low price suggests. Sure, it feels a little plasticky, but it still comes across as solid and built to last. It also keeps the experience simple in a good way. You still get Bluetooth multi-point, a solid Sony app with EQ features, and a big 50-hour battery, so it's not like you're missing everything just because there's no ANC. And sound-wise, it gets the basics right too, with a balanced, engaging tuning that works really well for the money. So no, this isn't the flashy option, but if you just want a cheap wireless headphone that's light, reliable, sounds good, and often goes on sale, the WH-CH520 is a super easy, low-risk buy if you're okay with no ANC. If you want a similar cheap on-ear option with a more bass-forward tuning, the JBL Tune 520BT is my top alternative pick to the Sony headphones I just mentioned. This is the one for people who like a more JBL-style sound, a bit more energy, a bit more bass, a bit more fun. It also has solid battery life at 57 hours, and you also get multi-point, fast charging, and a foldable design, which makes it easy to throw in a bag and live with day to day. The trade-offs are that the clamp can feel a bit strong, there's no wired mode, and isolation is only okay, which is pretty normal for this kind of on-ear design. I'd still keep the Sony ahead as the safer and more polished cheap pick. But if you want that more lively JBL style sound, or you catch it at the right price, the Tune 520BT is absolutely worth a look. JLab has made a big name for itself in recent years, offering great headphones and earbuds for the price. And so for me, it wasn't that surprising to include the JBuds Lux ANC in this video. For the price, you're getting ANC, a very solid app with EQ controls, good comfort, and a foldable design for travel. Sound-wise, it's pretty decent. It has a fun, bass-heavy sound signature with some extra top-end energy as well. It may not be to everyone's liking though, but you can always tune it with the app. ANC is also respectable for the money, and while it's not class-leading, it's definitely good enough for everyday commuting and general use. The main trade-off is that there's no 3.5mm jack, so wired listening is USB-C only, which is more of a convenience compromise than a true advantage. But overall, the JBuds Lux ANC delivers an excellent price-to-performance ratio and is absolutely one of the better headphones you can get at this price. Now, if your priority is sound quality at home and you don't care about wireless, ANC, or taking these on a commute, then the Philips SHP 9500 is my #1 budget audiophile pick. This is a very different kind of recommendation from the rest of the list. It's an open back wired headphone, so yes, it leaks sound like crazy, and it's absolutely not the one I use in public, at the office, or anywhere around other people. But that open design is also exactly why it sounds so good. With massive 50mm drivers, you're getting a much more airy, spacious, detailed, and open presentation than most sub-$100 headphones, with the kind of soundstage and separation that makes music feel less boxed in and more alive. It's the perfect set to get into actual audiophile style listening on a budget. It's also famously comfortable, with a very light, almost feels like air kind of fit, and the detachable 3.5mm cable makes it easy to use at a desk or in a simple home setup. This is my sit at your desk and actually listen to music pick, and in that lane, it still absolutely deserves a place here. If you want a good pair of studio-style headphones on a budget, the Audio-Technica ATH-M30X is one of the easiest picks to make. I was initially torn between this and the cheaper M20X, but I do think the M30X is worth the extra money. It's the more polished version of the idea, with better mid-range definition, slightly more accurate bass, and better portability since it can fold and comes with a pouch. You're still getting that straightforward studio-style setup here. Closed back, wired, no ANC, and no app. But in return, you do get decent isolation and minimal sound bleed, which makes it a much more practical option for focused listening. All in all, if you want a simple wired headphone for desktop use, tracking, editing, or just low latency listening, the M30X makes so much sense. And for me, it's the #1 pick for anyone who wants to get into studio-style monitoring on a budget. So that's my best budget headphone picks under $100 that you can get right now. If this video saved you some time, give it a thumbs up and consider subscribing to The Honest Gadget. And as always, links to everything covered will be down in the description below. Thanks for watching.